In today's episode, we're looking at when judges erupt in court.
Are you kidding me that you...
When you think judge, you think high authority and calm rational thinking. But just like the rest of us, they're also prone to completely losing their
I asked you a question.
So let's have a look at 5 judges who did exactly that. Our first case is Judge Wayne Culver. He's a judge in Seminole County who became known for an outburst he had on what was for him not a good day in court. Kevin Newton was with his sister when he entered a courtroom as part of the public gallery, but Judge Culver wasn't about to give them a warm welcome.
Hold on. Sir, I'm doing something. Can you shut up and sit down?
Absolutely, I was trying to find a seat.
That's not shutting up. You want to be held to contempt and go to jail? I asked you a question.
No, sir.
Then shut up.
You might even say the judge didn't give a bleeping bleep. Kevin's sister also had some remarks regarding this shocking incident.
Unacceptable. I was scared to react in any kind of way because I didn't want to go to jail. Blue tape on the benches, we didn't know where to sit because COVID. This judge just let his personal feelings take over.
The judge was facing penalties for his angry outburst, but there were some who defended him.
I like him personally. It's obviously he was frustrated and it was a bad day. The problem with it is that judges, like lawyers, you have to be good even on a bad day.
Not that it excuses the behavior, but Judge Culver did end up apologizing to Newton and his sister, only once the hearing had commenced. It just goes to show that even the most respected people can sometimes take their bad days out on the innocent and the unsuspecting. Up next, we have Judge Michael Bachmann. He was an ex-magistrate judge in Cincinnati's Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas. He became famous after his unusual activity during court. When Cassandra Jackson missed the deadline for filing a civil protection order, she ended up engaging in an argument with some court employees and began screaming in the hallways. Now, enter Judge Bachmann, who was conducting a witness cross-examination in his own courtroom just further down the hall. Now, he claims that it got so loud that he couldn't hear any witness responses over all the commotion. Jackson storms off, but the damage was done as 9 seconds later, Bachmann emerges ready to hunt down the culprit. Because there's no audio in these CCTV clips, we'll walk you through what happens next. Jackson does hear the judge shouting after her and turns to respond, but then continues walking. It's at this point, Bachmann begins to jog after her enraged and orders her back to his courtroom. Having completely lost his cool at this point, Bachmann makes the grave mistake of forcibly guiding Miss Jackson back down the route she had just escaped from by putting his hand on her shoulder. He kept his hand there for 23 seconds until he placed her into a seat in the jury box. They continued to exchange words, and things escalated to the point where Bachmann demanded deputies to take her into custody. Things ramped up even further as Jackson, feeling like she'd been unjustly held in contempt, tried to escape the madness, jumping out of the jury box and resisting arrest. This was a messy situation, which frankly could and should have been handled better by all parties involved. Both Bachmann and Jackson suffered the consequences of this interaction, as she ended up serving 2 days in jail, and Bachmann handed in his resignation for putting his hands on the defendant. A harsh reminder that it's better to keep your cool than act a fool.
Are you kidding me that it was dismissed and you're bringing up something that was dismissed?
This is Judge Charles Stengel. He was a circuit judge for the 14th Judicial Circuit Court of Illinois in Rock Island County. Before his retirement, Stengel was involved in a case where he ended up putting an attorney firmly in his place. It occurred in the Kristen Holtzman trial. Holtzman was scamming people via a fundraiser where she was raising money to fight brain cancer, which, as it turns out, she didn't actually have. Her defense attorney Jack Swartz was trying to undermine the witness's credibility by bringing up legal issues from her past, which were already dismissed by the judge. But Judge Stengel wasn't having any of it.
It looks like it was dismissed, however, she was forced to pay restitution.
Are you kidding me that it was dismissed and you're bringing up something that was dismissed? And you know that cannot be impeached? You know what, Mr. Schwartz? You know the rules of Montgomery or the Illinois Supreme Court rules and the rules of evidence regarding impeachment, do you not?
Yes, I do, Judge.
And how long have you been practicing law to know those rules?
Long time, Judge.
Yes.
Judge Stengel seems pretty aggravated at Mr. Schwartz, and things get even worse as the judge lays into him further.
I gave you time for a recess for you to prepare for this question, to cross-examine this witness. You said that you were ready. And you're telling me you weren't ready?
Ouchie. I wonder what the attorney has to say in his defense.
No, I thought I was ready.
Well, that's a strong defense there. Perhaps if he'd been prepared, this encounter may never have occurred.
Well, you know, you made a very serious mistake here, Mr. Schwartz, and there are going to be sanctions because you know, and I don't believe that you're saying that you didn't know it wasn't dismissed. You had ample opportunity to know who this witness was. And there are going to be sanctions, and I haven't quite decided what those sanctions are going to be, but I'm going to tell the jury that that question was wholly improper.
Something tells me that this attorney won't be too saddened to hear that Judge Stengel is now in retirement, and he probably also won't be trying to use dismissed evidence again in court anytime soon. This is Circuit Judge Bruce Schroeder. He's the longest-serving state court judge in Wisconsin. Schroeder rose to fame after he became the judge on the Rittenhouse trial, one of the most famous trials in the last couple of years. His trial gained worldwide notoriety, and the judge had an outrageous outburst towards the lawyer due to his line of questioning.
Mr. Finger?
First of all, Your Honor, this was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that. And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked.
Things got spicy, but it didn't end there. The judge then proceeded to comment further on the matter.
I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Why would you think that that made it okay for you without any advance notice to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. I have no idea why you would do something like that, so I don't know what you're up to.
Schroeder clearly wasn't going to let anything pass, and this defense lawyer was going to be made an example of.
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest anything's changed. Even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time, you should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this. Why you would think that you could go into it without any advance notice to the court, I don't understand that. And as the defense is pointing out, you're an experienced trial lawyer, and this should not have been going on.
Schroeder might have let his emotions get the better of him, but he wasn't about to let such a high-profile case get dragged into disrepute over procedural inconsistencies. This is Judge Patrick Kalaka. Yes, get your chuckles in about his name, because he wasn't in much of a laughy mood. Kalaka, who's on the Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas in Cincinnati, Ohio, that would end up being engraved in history, the well-known case of Judge Tracy Hunter.
Former Cincinnati Judge Tracy Hunter was sentenced to 6 months in jail back in 2014, but she's been appealing the ruling ever since. She was convicted of misusing her position as a judge to help her brother, who was facing an employment dispute over his job in the county. Her lawyer has claimed her actions didn't break the law.
This trial was so outrageous, it made headlines all over the country and received demanding attention from the public, especially the African American community. Many watching in from the outside thought that Judge Hunter was treated unfairly and argued that racism was influencing how she was being prosecuted. Her defense attorney argued that she was indeed the victim of a crime that shouldn't even be considered a crime in the first place.
Judge Hunter has gotten up each morning not knowing whether that was going to be the day that she was going to have to go to jail.
However, after all her appeals were rejected and her sentence was handed down by Judge Kalaka, chaos ensues in the courtroom. And a slight disclaimer here, you may want to have your volume settings ready, because it can get a wee bit loud once things begin to kick off.
Number one, you pay the cost of these proceedings. Number two, you are to do not violate any laws. Number three, you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center, credit 1 day. Mr. or Ms. Deputy can take her away.
Ah yes, no better time to pull out the classic "thou shalt not move me" trick by relinquishing all muscle activation and planting yourself to the spot. This really does seem to be such a mature way to avoid a jury ruling. After being dragged from the courtroom, Tracy complained that she was injured by the officer who dragged her. And of course, as you can see, her heinous and truly brutal handling must have caused some pretty severe injuries. It's really a miracle she even survived. But in all seriousness, this was an unexpected reaction, which has more place showing up in a playground than in a courtroom between two judges. So, which judges were justified in their eruptions, and which ones clearly stepped over the line? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, and as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.